And we're back with Smacking Off the Podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I am not joined with Doug Phillips this episode. Doug has a family medical emergency he's tending to and has left me to do this show all by my lonesome. How fucked up is that? I'm joined on this podcast with one, and we were just talking about this off air, and I had to hit the record button because Sean Devine, frequent contributor, is celebrating a huge win for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So let's talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, as I was saying, I think most, Notre Dame folk, going to that game, thought we'd be competitive, but it would probably be a, 7 or 10 point loss, especially considering how the season's gone, and to come out and
let's just be frank, y'all destroyed the season.
Just absolutely. Well, that's not. We didn't destroy their season. They have other. They have some things they can still play for.
Columbia with the South Carolina, beat them by 100 and win the state championship.
Well, I was to say, I don't know. That South Carolina game takes on a lot more meaning for them, certainly. Along with the likely they'll get to the ACC championship game, and we're a long ways away from the. I know the committee's releasing things every Tuesday, but let's be frank, there's only one committee release that matters, and that's that Sunday after the conference championship games. Everything else is just something for people to get hot under the collar about. But so I'm not going to speculate on where Clemson goes or what happens to them, but just for us, haven't won a big game, and I had made mention of this in our little chat group that after the Marshall loss, which to me wasn't really losing to Marshall. We lost to Ohio State a second time because we had put all our eggs in the Ohio State basket, so to speak, and we played them great, But
I don't know. I'd say Ohio State beat y'all 3 times because y'all lost to Stanford.
No, the Stanford was too many weeks away. That was Tom Rees making some bad decisions. Inside the 10-yard line, not kicking field goals, and we win that game. That game really actually sticks in my craw more than the Marshall and Ohio State game. But we needed this game just as a program that needed a big win. Like I said, I'd put us on a sort of my own pseudo self-imposed dead program status, and I had put 3 criteria to get out of that status. 1, had to beat an AP top 5 team at home. Or 2, beat an AP ranked top 10 team on the road, or 3, win a New Year's Six bowl game. And Clemson came into that AP top 5, and we ran the ball down their throat, and that goes. I haven't seen Notre Dame team run the ball like that since the days of Lou Holtz. We had over 240 yards on the ground, and basically really ran the same 4 plays. Rushing wise, and Clemson couldn't stop it. Could not. They knew what we were doing, and didn't matter. Our guards and tackles, and even Mike Mayer, the best tight end in the country, coming off the line of scrimmage, just ready to knock guys in the dirt. And then our 3-headed monster, as far as the tailbacks are concerned, were just chewing up yards, and we didn't have to worry about the lack of production at the quarterback position, hemming things up, which Pine's gotten a little bit better over the last 4 or 5 weeks. But, man, that was a big one. I haven't had a big win like that since the 2012 season when we beat Oklahoma down in Norman. So, it meant a lot. It really.
That's 10 years. That's a 10-year stretch.
Yeah, because I'm not going to count the double overtime win 2 years ago against Clemson. 1 is COVID, so there's that. 2, they didn't have Trevor Lawrence for that game, and we saw what happened 3 or 4 weeks later when they did get him back for the ACC championship game. So no, it's 10 years. Yeah, I mean, we got hosed in 2014 by the ACC officials down in Tallahassee. They had to keep Florida State unbeaten, so ACC would have a rep in the playoff. Which then we saw how that went when Oregon absolutely destroyed Florida State in that Rose Bowl. This is a big one. Felt great.
And Gabe, I'm going to shift gears for a quick second. Y'all had a kind of I guess you could say, a slightly historical game
Don't
against.
don't get me started because
Well, I mean,
this is why I hate Auburn fans. These idiots, they will settle for anything. Okay, we should have beat Mississippi State.
well, look, and I actually came out of the gate. And I'm not, I am an Alabama fan, and I'm going to tickle some nuts a little bit, but at the same time, I did come out with a compliment. Auburn showed out way better against Mississippi State than anyone would have imagined, and it was by simply just running the ball.
Well, we were getting blown out, and we made the comeback, and we took the lead, and we almost did something historic. I had a 20-point victory on the road, or 20-point deficit on the road, and almost came back and won for the first time since the Alabama game in 2010. And then Auburn fans come out and say that we want to hire Cadillac or Parnell Williams because we barely lost. And this is what happens when you have a demoralized fan base. They will settle for anything.
You mean like Brian Harsin?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And this is why I hate Auburn fans. I've been on the message boards all week blowing up on these people because they're trying to start a petition to get this man a job. Now, look, I love his energy. He's a great guy, a great man. He's an Auburn man, orange and blue all the way through. But does he deserve a job for barely losing and should have gotten blown out by Mississippi State? An average Mississippi State team at that? No, I mean, we have better athletes than Mississippi State on our roster right now that showed in the second half. If we just do what we did in the first half, then, we probably beat them. But we didn't.
How angry are you as a Auburn fan who is looking way outside of the top 25 right now and looking south and seeing some guy that used to coach for y'all at what I would figure is an inferior team? Some people would argue differently.
Which
UCF.
team is that?
I think
that was UCF. That is the Power Six. UCF, coached by one Gus Bus Malzahn.
2017.
Who is in the top 20? The top 25 ranked UCF. Auburn's not.
I don't really care because it was time to move on from Gus, and I mean, let's be frank, he was never going to do anything much at Auburn ever again. It was soured. It was the same thing. It was stubborn. His offense, everybody figured it out. He wouldn't change anything. He wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't let his coordinators coach. And, he's just Gus. I mean, he's just mediocre, going to get you 8 wins. It's kind of like when you're at work and you just got to barely scrape by, get through your 8 hours and go home. That's kind of just Gus Malzahn.
You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like a guy whose wife divorced him and she married another guy and they're getting along a little bit better and they've got a cute house down on the edge of town. Things are going pretty good for him. They're talking about having a baby. The child y'all have that you see every other weekend's fine, but whatever. Okay, new baby. Okay.
That's just kind of how, it was just so, just
I'm really happy
going
for
through
him.
the motion.
I hope it works out for him. I really do. I hope that fucking house burns to the ground.
I mean,
fucking piece of shit house.
Yeah. I really don't care that Gus.
Here they got a dog now. I hope that dog pisses on the carpet.
I mean, yeah, I hope that freaking St. Bernard takes a big old shit in the fucking house. I mean, that's kind of just how I felt about Gus. I really, honestly care less that dude is in the top 25 in a piece of crap American Athletic Conference. I mean,
but y'all are still. You're going to get drunk and you're going to text him one night, and Hugh Freeze is going to see the text and he's going to fucking get pissed off. And if y'all want this motherfucker back, that's fine. I'll go back to Ole Miss. Lane's going to Alabama anyways.
This weekend.
Lane ain't going to Alabama.
Tulane
we'll talk
beats
about that
UCF
later.
This weekend by 20. Tulane's going to beat UCF by 20 this weekend.
I don't think by 20. The line is 1.5, but I think Tulane wins by a touchdown.
Really?
I'd say
Yeah.
Gus is horrible in mid games, unless it's Alabama.
I'm just telling. The line is 1.5 for Tulane. So
That UCF
that's
team
not
is
me
not
inserting any sort of bias. I'm just telling you what it is. I think they win by a touchdown. I think Tulane wins that game. That, mind you, 3-time SEC champion.
But if Gus Malzahn wins that game and starts actually, I mean, then suddenly maybe it wasn't Gus. Maybe it was y'all, Gabe. Maybe it was y'all.
No, I think I sort of agree with Shannon there. I think you have a microcosm at Auburn of what you're seeing at Texas A&M. When boosters have too much influence in your program.
It's not really a microcosm. It's just it's bigger money, but it's the same fucking thing. We're talking about a Power 5 program that is being caught in a stranglehold by their boosters.
Absolutely.
And we've seen this all over the South in particular.
What I'm hearing on the plains is something for the first time in my life, something positive. And it's that we're getting these new facilities that
I thought it was Cadillac for head coach.
No, my God.
Facilities aren't.
It's going to be, if we hire him, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be like the Eminem song "Stan."
But you're telling me that UCF's facilities are better than Auburn's? Are you fucking serious?
No. What I'm saying is I'm hearing positive stuff at Auburn for the first time in a long time, if not my life. It's that we got the new facilities.
Well, that's not true. How old are you? I mean, you're old enough to remember Tommy Tuberville, are you not?
He better remember Tommy Tuberville. He is our U.S. Senator right now, and he is a smart man. He'll tell you that.
And his wife was banging players, but that's besides the point.
Either way, those were good times for the Auburn family.
Yeah, but
those were. Fear the thumb. I saw that fucking T-shirt. Fuck you and your T-shirt. Fear the thumb. You know what? Hey, Gus Malzahn's ranked and y'all aren't.
Hi, this is Kyle Golick, and I'm standing in the middle of SEC country. We're over here. Big Ten country here. Where do I stand? SEC. Big Ten. SEC. Big Ten. You're listening to the Smacking Off the podcast.
Watch what you love for less with Roku. Follow our affiliate link at smackology.42web.io for the best deals on Roku and many other great products.
Gabe, what's your number 5 game of the week, my friend?
I'm actually going to talk about some Gus Malzahn. It's going to be Tulane and UCF.
This is going to be some fun
I mean,
shit.
look. It's not because of Gus. It's because of Tulane. And, they're just having a good season. And it's just, kind of like Kansas.
I think it's time that the SEC brings Tulane back. I think it's been too long. We got it.
Yeah.
Bring them back. That would surely upset Brian Kelly, too, if Tulane is back in the SEC. Not that I would be opposed to that.
But what's the Dirty Rag or whatever their
LSU calls it the Tiger Rag, and Tulane calls it the Victory Flag. It's a flag split in half with each team's respective colors and logos, and in the middle is the crest of the state of Louisiana. And by the way, LSU owes Tulane a game. They have owed this game for 15 years. And, conveniently, they just somehow don't want to play it.
I want to play them right now. It's kind of like
LSU continues to chicken out of this game against an in-state rival. I wish the governor would get involved down there and make it a mandatory annual game. But so far they haven't done that. But, LSU owes Tulane a game from the last contract, and they keep dodging it. That's a fun fact.
So is this an official thing, or are we going to petition the governor of Louisiana to make this a thing?
No, we need to, because it is actually official. I mean, per the last contract, LSU was supposed to come play Tulane in New Orleans, and as of yet, hadn't happened. And this
before we make this appeal, we need to go ahead and reach out to anyone in our audience who happens to know contract law in the state of Louisiana.
Which is going to be tough because remember they use French law down there.
Ooh.
Well, look, we can just get Justin Pike to say if y'all don't play this game this time, he's going to drink his own piss again. And
well, but he has no dog in this fight, though. Yeah. I mean, this is LSU and Tulane. I mean, he's a out of all the fan bases that he has reportedly said that he's a fan of. Georgia fan. He has been an Alabama fan for a game or two.
Ole Miss fan.
Yeah, he's hotty totty. Definitely.
He's got his own legal troubles anyway as a Washington Commanders fan as well. So I saw that today for the NFL. Him and Dan Snyder.
But if we're going to do this, we got to bring the president involved. We got to get the president involved.
It's true.
This is true.
But I think this is going to be a great game between Central Florida and Tulane. I agree with you.
Oh yeah. This is going to be one. It's not going to be the main one, but it's definitely going to be a side monitor.
Are you going to be pulling for UCF in this one? Are you pulling for the old ball coach?
Hell no.
Why not?
Hell no.
Why are you being so hateful toward Gus Malzahn? He carried your program to greatness?
Mediocrity.
Well, I mean, it ended up that way, yeah, but it wasn't always like that.
What, beating
the whole entire time?
Contract, beating Bama one time at 5 years and got a contract extension, yeah.
Well, you can't expect it to be every year.
You're just being hateful right now. Sean, you shouldn't be so hateful. Tommy Tuberville could come back. Tommy Tuberville could actually come back. He could just say, you know what? Forget about this whole Congress thing. I'm going to go ahead and come back and coach Auburn. And then he could write it into law to where it doesn't matter who they wanted to hire as coach. He'll just be the coach. He's got that kind of power now.
Sean, what's your number 5? Let's move
on. Yeah, you're right. Let's stay focused.
Number 5, we're moving to the Pacific Northwest. Huge game in the Pac-12. The Washington Huskies visit the Oregon Ducks.
That's a big one.
Big one. I'm excited. I know Washington's got a couple losses under their belt, but this is a rivalry game. Penix should be back. Should be raring to go for this game.
There's a theme here. There is a theme between these two games because here are two people that drove the fuck out of Auburn and have found all sorts of success that they couldn't find in Auburn.
Suddenly, as we knew him in the SEC, Bo Pix is no longer Bo Pix. He's now Bo. He's back to being Bo Nix.
A big, strong, grown man with hairy balls, and I'm talking about leading Oregon into good times. Good times that Auburn could not see for some reason.
Happening to me?
I don't know, man. You're an Auburn fan. I mean, what'd you think was going to happen?
For you, Gabe. I feel bad for you, man.
All right, number 4 for me is actually this game.
Do you not want to talk about it anymore? Have we expounded enough on it? I mean, I'm sorry, Gabe. I have no idea which games y'all picked, and here we are, 2 games in, and we're still talking about Auburn, and you can't get away from the conversation. You really can't. Y'all need a good head coach down there. I'm just saying. I'm trying to help, Gabe.
So Washington and Oregon is your number 4 game, Gabe?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think this is going to be an exciting one. I like Oregon at home, which it's very hard to beat them in Austin.
Bo Nix win the Heisman, and then I'm gonna cry my eyes out because we let.
Dude, how fucking unreal would that be if Bo Nix actually really, or maybe doesn't win the Heisman, but at least when they pan the camera over in New York, there that motherfucker's sitting. How nuts is that? What reality do we live in now? I mean, forget about the pandemic and COVID and all this other stuff. We have gotten transported to a different reality. Like there's a shift all of a sudden.
But
Nick Saban is no longer a great coach, and somehow Gus Malzahn is.
Now Shannon is stoking your fires, Gabe, and I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. Do not worry. Bo Nix will not be in New York for the Heisman Trophy.
I bet he will.
I don't think so. You and I can make a bet.
Amazing.
Shannon, you and I can make a bet off air if you want on that.
He's going to be at least top 10 in the voting.
I don't bet money. I bet sexual favors.
Oh God.
I know. So I don't bet.
I would love to. I would love to hear your past. I bet you got some stories.
Oh, dude, you have no idea. You have seriously. The last 10 years, I've been so domesticated. It's not even funny. If y'all met me 15, 20 years ago, which Doug did, yeah, and Doug can vouch for it. I'll let him tell you these stories off air because they're
Shit, Shane,
horrible.
all I wanted to bet you was a $5 biggie bag from Wendy's, and I mean, come on.
I got your biggie bag right here. See, it always circles back to that. It always circles back to that. That's why I don't bet.
That and Reggie Bush he got what it was taken away from him back. He got his pretzel pub burger back. So
he should probably get his Heisman back because now you can kind of do the stuff that he was.
Well, I agree, but he hasn't got that back yet. But he did get his pretzel pub burger back, only for a limited time. Along with this is a last ride for McRib. Folks, get out there, get your McRib before it's gone too soon.
What happens first? Does Reggie Bush get his Heisman back, or does Pete Rose finally make it to the Hall of Fame?
Pete Rose will go to the Hall of Fame.
You think so?
Yeah. The NCAA is never gonna like.
No. It's not the NCAA, Gabe. It's the Heisman Trust, and those old stodgies don't want to get with the times. So it's not the NCAA. The NCAA is pretty much at this point washed their hands with anything, because if they were going to do anything, they would have penalized Miami, North Carolina, Tennessee, et cetera, Texas A&M, for things, and clearly they haven't done that. So the NCAA has taken a big step back. The only time you're going to hear about the NCAA is during March Madness and college baseball. They're kind of done with dealing with football. But no, it's the Heisman Trust. The
Power 5 conferences are done dealing with the NCAA is kind of the way I've seen it.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
I think SEC,
and they pretty much basically just said, try and stop us. And
and they can't because the P5 has the money. And that's just the long and short of it. I think Reggie deserves his Heisman back. I do. And this is, Notre Dame fan talking about an SC guy, but we saw the games. You can't not. All you have to do is go on YouTube and look at those games. I mean, Reggie Bush was absolutely incredible. He was phenomenal. That said, regarding Bo Nix, I think Oregon wins this weekend. It's at home. I don't think they destroy Washington. I think they win by 10. Something like 45-35. But Oregon still has a tough road to hoe. They have Utah next, and then they close with Oregon State in the we're not supposed to call it Civil War anymore, but it used to be known as the Civil War. And Oregon State would love to upset the apple cart. But
why was it called the Civil War? That's so far away from North and South, and I mean that's just
because in the state it was North versus South. It was a very liberal usage of the So because Corvallis is.
I hate y'all Northerners that just come in and get all of our good stuff. Y'all got the Civil War. You got Billy Ray Cyrus now because he's damn near a Northerner.
We're gonna give him. We can give him back. We can give him back. That's okay.
No.
I like Miley Cyrus. I'm a big Miley Cyrus fan. Have you ever seen her naked on the internet?
No, no, thanks.
I like skinny girls.
Okay.
I like big girls too. I like girls.
I would say she needs a trip to a good Waffle House. Get her to Waffle House. Get a good meal in her.
She's pansexual. I have no idea what that means, but she's pansexual.
I think she just needs to go to a church or something. Just get baptized.
No. That's the wrong. I'm not trying to marry Miley Cyrus. What are we doing here?
No, she's just a
you just want to take Miley Cyrus to Waffle House for a few hours,
No, not Waffle House, and I'm going to be the one eating, not her.
But we're going to give you Billy Ray Cyrus back.
No, I don't want Billy Ray Cyrus. I don't want him.
He's got the beautiful Kentucky windfall mullet, though, so you have to take that. But moving on to my number 4 game, that was my 5, and that's Gabe's 4. My number 4 is Battle Canines this weekend. We're going back to the SEC. Dog on dog. Georgia for the first time in a long time. Heading to Starkville. You got to ask, is this a trap game? for the number one team in the country.
Cowbells. There's lots of cowbells.
Lots of cowbells, and they're not allowed to sit down anymore. Mike Leach folded the chairs up, said, we're not sitting down anymore. And let's not forget, this is the kind of offense that does give Kirby Smart a little bit of trouble, So can the Dogs stop reading the press clippings after the big win against Tennessee and focus on Mississippi State? Because a Mississippi State upset win will, that'll make their season.
How is that going to happen? Have you watched Georgia this year?
I have.
Oh my God. We just talked about Oregon.
way.
Oregon fans do not ever want to talk about that demoralizing loss at the beginning of the season ever again. And bear in mind, I know it was the beginning of the season and working kinks out and yada yada, this, that, and the other. But
the ironic thing for that weekend was that was Labor Day weekend, right? I had a layover at Hartsfield, and I saw all the Duck fans streaming through the terminal. I had a connection to go to Nashville for an unrelated matter, but I see all the Duck fans streaming out of the terminal wearing all their green and whatever the hell they wear. They got
green and gold.
57 different. They got 57 different uniforms. So
very green and very gold.
Yeah,
it's like the greenest of all greens.
I said, man, there are a lot of people here going to take a sad flight back to Portland, Oregon after this weekend. I wasn't, because I was flying up to Nashville for a fantasy draft, but I did see him at Atlanta Hartsfield. I just laughed because I knew Georgia was going to handle him, and I expect the same thing this weekend. I do think Mississippi State will keep it a game for about the first half, and then in the second half, Georgia. Exactly. With the Cowbells at Starkville, they're going to be pumped. They're excited. They haven't seen Georgia because of the way the SEC schedule breaks down in a long time. They're going to be a little sluggish after the big win against Tennessee, but ultimately in the second half, they get it rolling. Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, it's too much. And I think Georgia wins probably by about 17. But let's keep an eye. This is a game to keep an eye on. And let's be frank. I think you gentlemen can agree. After last weekend, which was a huge weekend in college football, we've seen this.
The Vols lost. That was the most important part.
No, that was great. No, that was great. No, don't get me wrong. But after the big weekends we've had this year in college football, the weekend after is usually kind of a little bit of a lackluster weekend. And as far as the schedule is concerned, this deserves to be a top 5 game simply because we just don't have a lot. I mean, the Big Ten this weekend hurting real bad. Not a lot of good games in that conference. So this game, I think, will be at least decent for, put it on your second monitor, but I think it'll be decent for at least enough time. And then, Georgia, obviously the number 1 team in the country, really puts the nail in the coffin in the second half.
Gabe, number 3.
I actually have a tie for third.
Give them both.
It's gonna be Purdue and Illinois and Maryland.
It's a rivalry trophy game, by the way. Trophy game,
and it's actually for the Big Ten West.
It is for the Big Ten West.
It is. I mean, of course, Illinois is going to lose to Michigan next week and get obliterated. But then Illinois.
I don't know about that. I don't think they get obliterated at Michigan. I think they lose, but I don't think they get obliterated. Why? Because Michigan is going to be looking ahead.
Yes. But also, I like the matchup with Penn State and Maryland. I think it's going to be a great game. It's definitely going to be one I want to watch. Because, there's not a lot of good games, but there are some good games, though. But that's my number 3, though.
I give you credit for Penn State, Maryland, and I'll give it to you simply for one reason. Even though my games, as I've talked about,
I think it's a great matchup.
Well, yeah, you didn't let me finish, but it's a matchup. It's a good matchup. It's exciting, but you know me, I tend to not put them on my list because there's no major implication to the game. But I will say this: this goes back to many years ago. Shannon will remember this. I know, Gabe, you're a little younger, but there's a trophy for teams in the East. Whoever the best team in the East, and by East I mean the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, called the Lambert Trophy. Kyle Golick wrote a good article on it.
He writes
But the
good
Lambert
articles.
Trophy is still he does. But the Lambert Trophy, I believe, is still a thing. And if Penn State wins this game, I think they're going to win the Lambert Trophy again. Kyle Golick can tell me different if it's still contested for. But this is an old rivalry from even before when these teams were not in their current conference, if that makes sense. Because Penn State for almost 100 years wasn't part of the Big Ten. Maryland wasn't in a conference till they were in the ACC in the 50s. They were in the ACC from the 50s until about 8 years ago when they joined the Big Ten. But this is a rivalry game. It is. And Penn State still has some things to play for. They have lost to Michigan. They have lost to Ohio State. But if they win out, they're 10-2. Still pretty damn good. And that's very good for James Franklin for his job security. And it might get them into a New Year's Six bowl game.
10-2 is going to get Nick Saban fired this year, apparently.
Look up the Lambert
Well,
Trophy.
there's a different standard in Alabama.
True.
There's a different standard in Alabama. But
in and out of the locker rooms, yes. Showers.
But I did just look at the Lambert Trophy, and guess who has the most? Has the most Lambert trophies? Is actually Army. And
Army's an Eastern power. Yeah.
Yeah, and Penn State has the most, but Army has the second most. Army won it most recent. Yes, Penn State's won it 32 times. Army 9, Syracuse 6.
Yeah, I mean, back in the Big East days, even though Penn State was never part of the Big East, they always played all those Big East teams. The Lambert Trophy was a big deal. And this rivalry kind of harkens back to those days. They don't currently play for a rivalry trophy yet, though there's actually talk amongst the two schools that they're going to create one because, the Big Ten has like 30 different rivalry trophies, which you already mentioned Illinois, Purdue. They played for the Purdue War Cannon, which is funny because it's a cannon on a little piece of wood. Like it's a cannon the size of it's a toy cannon essentially. It's not like a real cannon. It's a little toy cannon.
Well, that's how
fun. Wow. It's cute actually more than anything. But I like your call with Purdue and Illinois. It just missed my list. It was my honorable mention for the week. Whichever team wins that game, I'm not. Is that Gabe? You might have. Is that in West Lafayette or Champaign?
Champaign.
I like Illinois at home in that game.
Illinois is favored by 7.
I think Chase Brown gets off the snide this week. He got hemmed up a little bit last week in East Lansing against Sparty. Real shocking, Sparty. They showed up. They haven't showed up much since.
If Illinois wins this, I think they clinch it because they had the head-to-head versus Iowa.
Correct. Yeah. If Illinois wins this game, they are going to Indianapolis as your Big Ten West representative. I know that doesn't mean a lot, but they're going to.
I like the parity. I like the parity in the Big Ten West.
This is Dr. Balls, and you're listening to Smacking Off, the podcast.
You can now tag team our affiliate retail deals with Overstock, Walmart, and Best Buy.
Find our affiliate links at smackology.42web.io and click affiliates at the top of the page.
Number 3 game, Alabama Crimson Tide at the Ole Miss Rebels. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get after it. Lane Kiffin against
Nick Saban may not be able to be there for that game because I think they're in Tuscaloosa right now reviewing his contract.
Well, what I will say about Nick Saban after a loss is simply this. You do not want to be that team that faces a Nick Saban coach team after a loss. Those teams tend to get pounded into absolute dust. And I think everyone on this panel, in this call, can agree that Ole Miss is a little bit fraudulent this year. Can we not?
I mean, you could also say the same thing about Alabama, though, that finally got exposed not only by Tennessee, but by maybe I don't know. Some people would argue a slightly inferior, if you look across the board as far as, recruits and this, that, and the other, a slightly inferior LSU team that handled business.
Well, the corn dogs are already. The corn dogs are chirping that just like the Vol man did before they lost to Georgia. The corn dogs now are chirping that it feels like 2007. If you remember 2007, that's the only team that's ever won the national title with 2 losses, and currently LSU has 2 losses. More on them later, but I know it's in Oxford, and I know Alabama has lost in Oxford before. They're not losing this week. Nick Saban is going to instill in his players, just an absolute mantra, will, whatever you want to call it. They are going to go in there and absolutely destroy Ole Miss this week in Oxford, bar none. Mark it down.
I don't think they destroy. I think Ole Miss actually covers. I think it's actually a great game. Bama.
I don't think so. I don't believe in Ole Miss.
It's not Alabama. I mean, they're just not that good this year. And I hate
here's the deal on this. Here's the deal on this.
But Bama's just not that good.
On the road. Alabama. No. See, that's where you're wrong. So Alabama is a very good football team. They're just not the Alabama of the years where they were just absolutely throttling.
I think it's more of the play calling and play design.
Oh, well, yeah. Bill O'Brien is a terrible offensive coordinator. Terrible.
Than it is like the players. I just think like Bill O'Brien holds them back 3-4.
Absolutely, I agree.
Every week.
I agree.
I mean, Bama is worth 3 or 4 more touchdowns every game on their schedule.
But and I hate to use transitive property here, but I'm going to use it a little bit.
And Pete Golding is, he's also holding the back.
No, I agree. Pete Golding, Bill O'Brien are not the best coordinators for Alabama. I think Nick Saban will rectify that in the offseason. But here's a straight dope on this game. Alabama lost by a field goal at Tennessee. They lost on I got to give him credit. I don't care for him much with his fake accent, Brian Kelly, but it was a ballsy call going for 2.
It was.
He was either going to be the king or the goat. And not goat as in great as just a goat that chews grass in the muddy yard. If he doesn't, it doesn't convert that 2-point conversion. So let's not completely just, Alabama's not very good. But they're very good. They just got, a little unlucky in a couple of games. It could easily be 9-0. They could easily be 9-0.
Very good, as a team. I'm just saying with their current situation, they're not very good.
They're not to the Alabama standard, which is excellence. That's the Alabama, which is very good, is still better than 90% of the rest of college football. Let's not get crazy.
That includes here. Auburn, by the way. But
yeah, I mean they're still probably going to throttle Auburn and Tuscaloosa.
Auburn's probably bottom 20 in the Power 5. This year.
I mean, no. There's some absolute dogs out there, and Auburn's suffering this year, but they're not that bad.
Colorado State, San Jose State, But I will say this, Gabe. I do got to ask you a quick question, though. I know time's running for both y'all, but even if the game was played in Jordan-Hare, let me ask you a quick question, Gabe. Game's played in Jordan-Hare. Tulane comes to Jordan-Hare this year.
And win.
Put a line on that. Put a line on that game for me. Who wins that game? Tulane at Auburn.
The betting line currently probably be like Auburn -3-2 or something like that, but Tulane probably win by touchdown.
Right.
They're going to favor
So I mean, I think it'd be a field goal game one way or the other. I think it'd be a hell of a game. Actually, I'd like to see that game. But. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, if Auburn wins out, they may actually get to a bowl. You never know.
Shannon's reading my mind. That's why he's the master. He's the maestro. Auburn goes to Alabama. Auburn goes to Alabama in 2 weeks. I'm going to try to catch a little bit on TV. I'm going to be at the Notre Dame Southern Cal game down in L.A. I think it's going to get flexed tonight to a night game, so I should be able to see the Iron Bowl
but which I
Alabama's
do
gonna be a
ultimately
5
one of
year.
these years. I want to see an Iron Bowl with each of y'all at each of his respective stadium. But Auburn going to Alabama, Tuscaloosa, is usually a recipe for failure. So, Gabe, I know we're 2 weeks away. We're going to talk about it again in 2 weeks. But what is your current feeling about that game?
I mean, I'll be honest. Probably Bama. I'd say by 17. I think we give them a half, and then Bama just pulls away.
Yeah, I would agree.
Auburn's worth a quarter or a half to get them a good game.
Because,
but then we're gonna start turning the ball over, doing stupid mistakes.
Here's where
depends what we do this week. Get back to me next week, and I will be able to.
I know college football is definitely a week by week game. I completely agree with you on that. I mean,
if we win,
Notre Dame lost to Stanford. We went to Syracuse and beat the hell out of Syracuse. So I completely agree with you. It's a week by week game. But my point, the reason I
think we can get Bama a game.
The reason and you guys played them hard as hell last year in Auburn on the Plains. The reason it's a long roundabout way. If we're presupposing, that Tennessee is a good team, despite the fact they got really, railroaded by Georgia last week, which, Georgia is the best team in the country, bar none. It's probably the best program right now in the country. LSU got destroyed by Tennessee, but I think they're both very good teams. And I think Alabama's right in that level right now, which I know for a lot of Alabama fans is not to their standard. But let's not say that Alabama is suddenly, Texas A&M or Vanderbilt. Let's not get too, let's relax. Let's calm down.
I just think Alabama changing and
I think they are, but they haven't changed that far just yet. Nick Saban is still too good, and they have still too much. And by the way, let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you one more time, real quick. What program has the number one on all three major? And I'm not counting ESPN because that's a joke, but on three rivals. And 247, what program has the number one recruiting class in the country right now?
Bama.
Okay. So I'm telling you, despite
the dynasty is dead. The dynasty is dead. Nick Saban is going to be run out of Tuscaloosa on a rail. I'm sorry. You just cannot lose to two of your most bitter rivals by 4 points. I'm sorry. We can't have this anymore. I endured this conversation today. Of course, I do plumbing work for a living. I'm at the plumbing supply house. It's a very male bastion, and some Alabama homer pipes up and need to get rid of Bill O'Brien and blah blah. Okay, yeah, I can do that, and then launches into this attack about how awful Bryce Young is. Like, are you fucking serious? Bryce Young
correct me if I'm wrong. He's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Correct me if I'm wrong. He is
the reigning Heisman Trophy winner for a reason. I mean, again, he was able to throw over 300 yards against the LSU defense that is the current Heisman darling for the moment. Oh, Mr. Hendon Hooker was able to contain him to like 220 yards. I really don't want to hear that. I really don't.
Right.
We had some deficiencies. There are some problems that we have on this team, but they will be corrected. They always are. Every single year.
That's exactly what I'm saying, and I guarantee you that has been, if not solved, at least we're sticking gum in a little of the holes in the defense that has been a problem. I'm telling you right now, they're going to Oxford and they're beating Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels, and it might not be close. Because Alabama, after a loss, let's look at let's look at their first loss this year. What happened the week after their first loss? What happened? I think they held the opponent to a field goal, if memory serves.
Oh yeah. They beat Mississippi State by 24,
like 30-6 or something like that.
Bama looked like they wasn't even trying. And the third quarter.
And I'll tell you that Mississippi State has a better passing offense than Ole Miss does this year. Ole Miss is going to try to run the ball. They are not going to run the ball.
As good as Quinshon Judkins is, he's a good running back. He's going to be an excellent NFL running back. He's not getting the yards this week against Alabama. If I know Nick Saban, and he's, what he loves to do is, he loves to get in somebody's ass. He's getting into everybody's ass this week in practice and firing them up. They will be fired up, raring to go. They're going into Oxford. They're going to win that game. Mark it down. I think they win by 17. That's just my perspective. And that's my number 3 game of the week.
I want Bama to prove me that they can do something better on the road than what I've been seeing for the past 2 years. That's my question.
But I don't consider. I think there's a significant drop off. I know Paul Feinbaum will tell me different, but there's a significant drop off between playing in Neyland and Tiger Stadium and playing during the day at Vaught Hemingway.
I mean, of course, but
it's a day game. Number one, number two. Vaught Hemingway only seats 62,000. Neyland seats 103. And Tiger Stadium seats 101. That's how.
And Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin has got on their ass, and I think that's why Lane Kiffin comes to Auburn. Is there's no fan support at Ole Miss.
I would agree with that.
They rather dress, in suits and ties and get drunk in the Grove.
In the Grove, right. I think there was, there's this old saying. There's a lot of truth said in jest, right? You've heard that saying. And they had memes out about as soon as after Harsin got fired, Lane hanging outside the AD office at Ole Miss, turning in his his playbook, and because I really think Lane is going to Auburn. Assuming
I think they missed their chance. I really do. I think they missed their chance, and I think because they
boosters don't screw it up
because they missed their chance. Because don't think for a second that Oxford won't come up with some Auburn money to keep Lane there for a little bit longer.
I think Auburn has more money than Oxford. Can tell.
Auburn does have more money than Oxford, but I think Oxford has enough to keep him there. Plus the fact that Lane got it.
Here's where I disagree with you, Shannon. I love you. We've gone through this year, but the difference, the difference is, and I'm gonna just ask you a question to show you the difference. Can you win a national championship at Ole Miss?
No.
Can you win a national championship at Auburn?
Yes.
Yes. That's the simple answer.
Why can you not win a national championship in 2022 at Ole Miss?
We haven't seen Ole Miss.
It's in the SEC West. They've gotten a lot closer recently than I can remember.
Ole Miss hasn't won a national title since 1962. In football.
But it is possible, though. So that's the thing is that, particularly now with transfer portal, which Lane has made great use of. And a lot of people would probably argue if it weren't for the transfer portal, Lane probably wouldn't be sitting as pretty in the SEC West as he is now.
But that's why
I'll give you competitive. I'll give you that because anybody in their right mind would take any SEC job over Florida Atlantic. And he came from Florida Atlantic, so let's not forget that. So even Vanderbilt is a better job than being at Florida Atlantic. But that said, Auburn has just so many more resources than Ole Miss to compete for a national championship, and I think that's what Lane wants. The question is can
facilities than Ole Miss and
history, tradition, you name it.
They're better Ole Miss in literally everything but baseball.
Right. The only question for Lane and his agent, which I think he has the same agent as Saban, memory serves. I think Jimmy Sexton is his agent.
Jimmy Sexton is everybody's agent, apparently.
He should be everybody.
Everybody in the South.
So not only is Nick Saban the GOAT, but his agent is also the GOAT of agents. Mm-hmm. But the only reason that would keep Lane from coming to Auburn is you have to tell the athletic director, who I know is new. I know you guys just got him from Mississippi State, but really you're talking to the board of trustees. You got to pull these Auburn boosters back. You got to control them. They cannot have as much say as they have had over the last 7-8 years. They don't run the program. The program's going to be run by the athletic director and the head
This is why
coach.
I'm excited because, from what I'm hearing on the planes, that it's down to Hugh Freeze and Kiffin, and then we're going to make a move after the season's over to let them finish their respective seasons.
And that's what you should do. I think that's the right play. I think the people that were, we talked about this earlier, that were, yelling for Cadillac Williams. I think Cadillac Williams in 10 years is actually going to be a very good head coach. He just needs more grooming, more experience. Right now he was just a position coach.
We can make,
but he's got to have to be a coordinator, an assistant head coach, and even a head coach at maybe a lesser program, a group of 5 program. You can't just walk right into being the Auburn head coach, after being a position head coach. I think that would be a disservice to Auburn and Auburn fans everywhere. I have faith in the new athletic director. I think he's going to do great things for Auburn, but you got to pull those boosters back. You got to pull them back because right now it's not a sexy job.
Well, we're going to
and the same is going to be true.
Find out in what the move is going to be. If we hire someone stupid, then we know what's going on.
Well, guys, I hate to interject, but we do need to wrap up very quickly because this has gone way longer than Doug. Doug would have let me go.
Oh, hi, I'm Clinton Bain, and this is Smacking Off, the podcast.
It's like cocaine or something. I don't know. These motherfuckers just talk about college sports, specifically college football, and man, let me tell you, it's a hoot.
Listen to Smacking Off the podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Also check us out on the Podbean app, Player FM, and Podchaser.
Okay, all right. So you're number 3. Did you do your number 3?
He did his number 3 and number 2, I believe, right?
Yeah.
No, he didn't do it. Who was his number 2?
Remember, it was a tie.
My number 2 is TCU in Texas. Possibly game of the day. I think Texas wins it.
But he done fucked up.
I'm sorry. TCU.
That's okay. I'm busting your chops, Gabe. I'm only kidding.
I get it, but I don't.
And by the way, I'm gonna kick your ass this week and pick them. By the way, I want you to know that I'm gonna kick your ass and pick them this week.
I had a horrible week last week.
So did I.
I completely forgot about Pick'ems this year. Of course, usually around this time of year, I kind of forget about them and we'll peter out toward the end. So,
well, the only reason I'm keeping up with it because I'm 3rd, so I'm in the money pot. So I just want to stay there.
Yeah, I'm in the money one on the other one with our good friend, the Boomer Sooner as well. But
Sean Devine, you're number 2.
Number 2. I know Gabe went TCU at Texas. That's going to be my number 1. But before we get to the number 1, number 2, battle in the ACC this week. This is going to decide who goes to the ACC championship game. The North Carolina Tar Heels are at Wake Forest, Demon Deacons. Both are ranked. I'm excited for it.
Wake Forest is not ranked anymore. They lost to NC State.
Did they just drop out of the top 25? Okay, well,
yeah.
They both were ranked now. Just North Carolina's ranked. Either way,
they're just ranked now. Yeah,
they're just jank. They're janky. But either way, great quarterback matchup in this game. This is a battle of quarterbacks.
North Carolina's quarterback is putting up very Heisman-like numbers.
He's got better numbers than. Don't tell the Buckeye fans this. He's got better numbers than C.J. Stroud.
Ooh, I heard that.
Yeah. So young, and he's a true freshman. True freshman, not a redshirt freshman. He's a true freshman.
A sweet
baby. Listen to this. He has 3,000 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 3 picks.
True freshman.
I would hand that man the Maxwell Heisman right now.
He is doing things in Chapel Hill. The problem is he's doing it with a bunch of nobodies because Mac Brown can recruit quarterbacks and he can recruit running backs. He can't recruit anybody else. But this kid, May, is incredible. I mean, his numbers are incredible. North Carolina is currently sitting 8-1. If they win this game, they are a shoo-in. They are a lock to the ACC championship game, where they will most likely get Clemson from the other division. Which, by the way, speaking of quarterbacks, they got quarterback problems on their own. Look out, DJU going to hit the transfer portal. Auburn, give them a phone call.
No.
Yeah, maybe better than what you got. Better
DJ with
than,
Hugh Freeze as head coach. Oh my God! Can you imagine those numbers?
There you go. And by the way, DJU better than what Auburn's got right now at the quarterback position.
They ran that ball. They ran that ball like their life depended on it, because it actually did in that Mississippi State game. What's your number one game, Gabe?
The Harvey Updikes versus the suit and tie beer drinking guy that gets fucked up in the Grove.
Roll Tide, fuck your trees.
And then the number one game of the week, which Gabe had number two. I'm grooming you, Gabe. I'm grooming you for games of the week. We're going to do this again next year, because I've really actually enjoyed you on as my sort of pseudo co-host for games of the week segment.
Absolutely.
So hopefully you'll do it again next year. But Shannon, you want to hear something crazy?
Let's do it.
You ready for some crazy shit?
Always.
The TCU Horned Frogs out of Fort Worth, Texas, are 9-0, unbeaten. First time since 1938. You know what they did in 1938?
What did they do in 1938?
Went unbeaten, won the national title.
So you think this is TCU's year if they're able to get this Bob Texas?
Davey O'Brien was your Heisman Trophy winner. Dutchmeyer was the coach. We're going to fight them until hell freezes over. And guess what? After hell freezes over, we're going to fight them on the ice. TCU rolls in 9-0 unbeaten at the Texas Longhorns. They have 3 losses.
3 losses, yeah. To be ranked as high as they are, that's crazy.
3 losses on the year for the Texas Longhorns.
The thing about this game is TCU, they flirt with disaster every week. If they do it in Austin, they're not going to be able to do it. That's why I'm picking Texas.
I'm going with the Battletoads, the Horny Toads, the Horned Frogs. They've been flirting with disaster every week since week 4.
Yeah.
So what the hell? Why not flirt with disaster one more time? Make Quinn Ewers win this game, and Bijan Robinson, he's probably the best tailback in the country, or at least he's going to be the number one tailback taken in next year's draft. But let's see if Texas is ready to go. Texas was ready to go, and they beat Kansas State.
And without them, they held a very, very good Alabama team to 1 point.
That's right.
17-16. So yeah, that's going to be a hell of a game.
That is the game of the week. TCU at Texas. We're either going to find out TCU is real or they're fraudulent. That's the game of the week. And a game that is, bereft of some games that we thought were going to be good that fell out real quick. Iowa State and Oklahoma State, trash. Throw that in the trash can.
Yep.
Texas A&M at Texas A&M at Auburn. Thought that was going to be something trash.
No, it will be something if Auburn wins that game. If Auburn wins that game, that's going to be amazing.
Auburn will still be able to go to their bowl game, the Birmingham Bowl, which should just become the Auburn Bowl.
I want Jimbo Fisher to contemplate suicide.
And then Indiana and Ohio State. Thought that might be something. Nope, that's hot garbage. So those are your games of the week. We're excited. It's week 11, by the way, gentlemen. Week 11. We only have 3 more weeks of the regular season left. Can you believe it?
That is so crazy to me.
We were just talking about week 1, Labor Day, right? Like, it felt like 5 minutes ago. Gabe and I were talking about week 1. We're in week freaking 11 here as of tonight, because we had some games tonight, some action and Sunbelt, Conference USA, etc.
Well, if we let this go any longer, we're going to be into week 12. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it here.
Well, we love you. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it.
This has been fun, guys. I'll see y'all next week.
We missed you. You better be back next week. We got to have Shannon Madden. He's the man. He's the master.
We gotta have
I agree. I agree with that.
All 4 of of us.
Y'all take care.
All right,
You too,
appreciate it.
Shannon. Take care of yourself.
It's time for another wonderful installment of
Scully's Adventures.
I had a black friend of mine. He actually coached football with me for a few seasons. His name was Greg. Well, I had a truck. Well, Greg called me and asked me to run some furniture over to his son's house, drop it off, and, take him back home. So I do it. And there was a road we were taking. Well, it was all jammed up with traffic, so we did a little sightseeing trip around. Well, we're driving, and there's this church, and big sign, catfish fry. My buddy Greg says, "Oh my God, man, that's my church. Look, they're having a catfish fry." He said, "I'll go buy a catfish dinner, for helping them." And so I park, I get out. Listen, I look like a white speck on an all-black piece of paper. That's how out of place I was. So I get there, and my friend Greg, so he introduced me to people. Well, they just started serving the food. So I get in line, and everybody so far, man, was great. I mean, great. Well, so I'm going through the line. I'm talking to, people serving food. And at the very end was this old lady. And I think she was probably like the monarch of the church, She was one of those old black Baptist church ladies. And she looks at me and she goes, and she kind of chuckles and she goes, "You don't seem out of place, do you, son?" I said, "Ma'am, no, I don't." I said, "I'm filled with the Holy Spirit," which I was. I said, "So I feel like I'm with my brothers and sisters." She said, "You're right, honey child." She said, "I tell you what." She said, "Your money's no good here." She said, "We're going to feed you for free." I said, "Ma'am, no, this is, it's money for the church." She said, No. She said, "I insist. You eat your catfish." And I tell you what, it was some of the best catfish I ever ate. It was catfish, mashed potatoes, potato salad, green bean casserole, corn on the cob. I mean, just tons of food, salad. Then they had a bunch of different pies and cakes for dessert. Oh my God. Oh, the sweet tea was phenomenal. So I'm eating with my buddy Greg and talking. And man, I tell you what, I have never been treated so good, in my life, how they just acted with me. And, I don't know. It was a very enriched cultural, situation that I was in. I mean, to me, I'm Christian. I don't say I was actually raised Roman Catholic, but I'm not a Roman Catholic. I just say I'm a Christian. I don't want to follow any sect, religion. But I will never forget that day, just how everybody treated me there. And it was actually like I was like the biggest guest of honor they ever had, having a white person there. Well, technically, okay, if you go and talk to the old school, I'm talking the Italians that either came off the boat or they're one generation of. Us Italians, we don't consider ourselves white. We actually consider ourselves Mediterranean people, just like the Greeks. Not as much as like the Egyptians would, even though, Egypt's, right there in the Mediterranean. But I mean, I tell you what though, I'd probably say in the past 2 years, whenever I go out fill paperwork and they ask me for my race, I always check the other box and I write in human. And I've actually done that a few times where the people, they would read it and they were like, human, huh? It's like, yeah. I said, I don't think we should be judged by race. I don't think it's the skin color. It's the culture that separates us. I mean, I've talked to some black friends of mine. Their mother is no different. Like black mothers and Italian mothers, there's no different in them. None. They are quick to shit to beat your ass for a good reason. I mean, you deserved it. Your mother beat your ass. You probably damn well deserved it. Same with black mothers. You don't mess with them. And especially Italian mothers with their sons. I mean, I'm my mother's only child or only son. And she gives me shit every day. Like, dude, she brings up shit that I did when I was 17, act like I did it yesterday. Like, one day, not too long, she said, I should ground you. I was like, Mom, how the fuck are you going to ground me? I'm a 51-year-old man. But just, that's what it is. It's not the skin color, it's the culture. And I think that we as human beings should learn and know the good and the negative about it, all the cultures around us. Like I always tell people, your skin color is not going to dictate your life's outcome. It's your choices that you make. It's the opportunities that you take or turn down. I mean, if you're 35 years old and you have to take a minimum wage job, you fucked up in life. You might have a felony, whatever, but you fucked up in life. The greatest thing I've ever did, one of the things in my life I will never regret, was taking the opportunity to go down to Nashville, start becoming an electrician, went and graduated my 4 years of apprenticeship. Because you can never take that away from me. Never. It follows me until the time I retire. But when I was saying, that going to that all-black church and just how special they treated me. I mean, they were nice to everybody else too, but I just felt so special. And the grandmother, the monarch of the church, she was like a 92-year-old black lady, and you could tell like just how everybody respected her. That's the same way with Italians. When you grow up Italian, you are taught you respect your elders. And it's same with, black culture, So that's all I wanted to say, man. Just wanted to say that it was an experience.
Here's 6 things that you can do to help support this podcast. Like, share and comment on our videos. Buy our merchandise. Use our affiliate web links to buy great products and services from our affiliates. And tell others about our podcast.